Welcome everyone to this episode of the Mortgages by Gretchen show, where I talk to real people in the field of real estate and business who are not only experts, but they're generous and willing to share their time and their knowledge with us here. And the goal of the show is for you to get some information and tips to help you reach your goals in business and in owning real estate, and to take some of the guesswork out of who to call or what to do when you need help. And today I'm thrilled to have Shubha Dasgupta with me. Shubha is the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Pineapple, and that is the mortgage brokerage that I am proudly a part of. Since entering the mortgage industry in 2008, he's been focused on positively disrupting the sector by leveraging technology and putting people at the heart of the business. Shubha's unique vision and expertise have allowed him to build and grow Pineapple, formerly the CLC Network, which now has over 400 brokers in the network. Shubha's deep understanding of business and industry trends, coupled with the ability to drive best-in-class customer experience and profitability, have enabled him to infuse vision and purpose in his professional endeavors throughout his career. And in 2021, he was appointed president of the Canadian Mortgage Brokers Association, also known as CMBA, Ontario Board of Directors, after serving a second year on the board. He's an active member in the Toronto community, and he is a philanthropic leader for various nonprofit organizations. Since 2010, he's been a devoted advocate in the fight against cancer. I'll turn it over to you, Shubha, and if you'd like to add to that introduction, anything about you.
Well, I think there's thank you so much, first of all, Gretchen, and that was a fantastic introduction, and I'm so happy to be a part of your show and speak with you and your audience. Couple of things. I guess that bio is a little bit dated because we actually have over 600 agents today as part of the Pineapple brand and not 400. And I think that, you know, my biggest accolade was left out of my bio, which is that for the last 13 years consecutively, I have been voted Dad of the Year by my kids. So I always like to throw that one in there. No, and I'm just obviously joking, but something that I'm very proud of myself is my family and my kids. But no, I think you covered everything else, Gretchen. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome. And that says a lot that you've gotten Dad of the Year.
maybe I gave it to myself. It's self-appointed.
Get an A for effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good. Okay, so as the leader and visionary, what do you make of the recent rate hikes, which of course everyone's talking about, and where do you think things are headed over the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've certainly been in a low rate environment for a long period of time. So, you know, we almost got set in our ways and used to, you know, what the normal was, which were these sub 2% interest rates, you know, even, you know, at some points we were talking about sub 1% interest rates. And, you know, the truth of the matter is that that was never really sustainable. And interest rate increases were always on the horizon. It was a matter of when, how much, and how fast. And what we've seen this year is that all three kind of converged at once and just kind of hit us, right? It was today, it was a lot, and it was very quickly in terms of how interest rates have increased over this year. Now, you know, when I look at the interest rate increases, something that I always, you know, encourage, you know, to highlight, and I always encourage myself to highlight, is the fact that a large number of Canadians, in actuality, the vast number of Canadians, are in fixed rate mortgages. So the increase in interest rates that we've experienced over the last years aren't going to affect, you know, everybody. You know, so it's going to affect a certain group of Canadians, you know, those that have variable rate or adjustable rate mortgages. But it's also important to recognize that mortgages aren't the only thing that's affected by rising interest rates. We also have, you know, our unsecured debts, our lines of credit, our car loans, our student loans. You know, a lot of these payments and a lot of these debts are tied to these interest rates, these fluctuating interest rates and the prime lending rate. So Canadians, even that aren't homeowners, are being affected by them as well. Where do I see and what am I expecting for the next couple of years? So, you know, I think that the government really needs to get a handle on this inflation. Is our interest rate increases the only lever that they have? Possibly right now. There's going to be a lot of wage inflation, given the low unemployment numbers. There's going to be a lot of challenges with supply chain continuing to move forward, given the geopolitical situations and other concerns across the world. So we're certainly not out of the woods when it comes to inflation, and it's certainly something that needs to get under control. Do expect to see a few more raises on the near horizon. And when I say a few more, it could be anything like one more in October, or it could be like one more plus two more plus three more. Like nobody really knows for sure, but I certainly expect that there's going to be at least one more in the near future. Something important to understand about interest rate raises is that it takes time for these raises to actually cycle and filter through the economy, anywhere between 12 to 24 months. So if we land in the middle and say 18 months, we probably still aren't experiencing the full extent of all of the rate hikes that started earlier this year, and we won't until later next year. So it is also important for the government and for our Bank of Canada to closely monitor that, to ensure that they don't over raise their rates, because the effects of these rising rates haven't really been felt yet in its fullest. Now that's not to mean that we can't lower rates, but same thing, that's going to have a lagging effect as well. So we definitely don't want to push the economy into a negative situation more than we need to. What's going to happen over the next couple of years, once these interest rates stop raising, or the Bank of Canada decides they're not going to stop rates, my prediction on it is that customer sentiment will change at that point. So the uncertainty of the market, the volatility of the market will stabilize at that point, because Canadians will get more accustomed to what is the now normal interest rate environment, the same way they did of low rate environments in the past. And at that point, the sentiment will change and people will get more ready to enter the market, because the volatility and uncertainty is a little bit removed. Once that kind of transitions in, we'll see that stability set forth in the real estate market. And once the stability is there, generally speaking, it's not much further down the pipeline that we begin to see the real estate market uptick again. So that's kind of my forecast, in terms of when it happens, can't really say, but that's kind of what I expect to happen over the next 1 to 2 years.
Okay, that's great to get your input, because you have your pulse on things. So
yeah.
So in the mortgage industry, and specifically at Pineapple, what innovations and improvements for customers can you see coming down the line to help make the process better for them?
One of the things you'll often hear me say is that I'm so proud of this mortgage industry, and I'm proud of it for many reasons. I think that there's incredible people that work within it. I think that it's an incredible industry that does so much for the Canadian, consumers and Canadian homeowners, providing home ownership opportunities, wealth building opportunities. It's just a very noble profession, I feel, and a noble industry. But one of the things I'm most proud of this industry is the fact that we have changed more probably in the last 5 years than in the 5 decades before it. Meaning that this industry is advancing very, very quickly. We're adopting into technology, we've adopted into a new mindset, and we're really driving this mindset down to Canadians who want that more seamless, easy experience when buying their home or refinancing, renewing their mortgage. Pineapple and yourself have sat at the forefront of a lot of this change, but we expect it to continue to move forward and progress. So what are some of the things that Canadians can expect? Certainly an ease in how they transfer information back and forth between their mortgage broker and themselves. In the past, this has been done through, the dreaded F word, right? Fax machines. Email, which is in a lot of cases is unsecure and puts sensitive information out there for the world to be able to access and gain accessibility to. Even just physical documentation drop-offs through meetings and things of that nature. So one of the things definitely to expect is more secure document transfer. So, access to more, logins and profile created interfaces where mortgage Canadians can enter and kind of navigate their mortgage, independently, right? So they'll have their own profiles, they'll have their own ability to upload specific documentation, all encrypted, all secured, which is something that should be, of the utmost importance to Canadians. I think some of the other things that Canadians can expect to see coming down the pipe is just more seamless options, right? So rather than what I will say is cumbersome, mortgage, opportunities and options. Like there's thousands of mortgage products, all with changing policies and guidelines and rules and rates. It makes it difficult for Canadians to really understand which options are best suited for them. As technology continues to be enhanced, I think there'll be more transparency and more visibility for the Canadian consumers working alongside their mortgage brokers to understand exactly what products they're getting into, what are the terms and conditions and policies, and why is that product best suited for them. So I think generally, it's going to be great over these next few years to really simplify the mortgage process for Canadians. But more importantly, from, my standpoint, I want Canadians to have more visibility and transparency into what they're getting, right? Kind of almost remove the layer of that dark cloak in terms of what happens behind the scenes, allow them to understand better and allow them to know what they're getting is best suited for them.
Yeah, so suitability, I guess, and making sure that they're given some, whether it's, I don't know, like an information sheet or whatever, to kind of break it down and make it a little more understandable. And
yeah, and I think one of the best examples that we can give are some of the things that we've done here at Pineapple over these last couple of years and continuing to improve. You'll know this, that over the course of the pandemic, when interest rates were at an all-time low, there were many Canadians that had an opportunity to take advantage of these lower interest rates and, potentially have thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars of savings. Now, what was important during that time was that not every Canadian was eligible for that. So how did we use the information that we have, the relationships with various lenders, the policies, the guidelines, and the assessment of that data, and deliver that back to the customer so that not only did they think that they could possibly get a lower interest rate, but we were actually able to ping them and let them know, hey, you are eligible for a lower interest rate, and this is how much you could save over the next 5 years. When we look to the future, we would love to be able to provide Canadians with opportunities in identifying when wealth building strategies become available. Like, hey, you've built enough equity in your home today to be able to apply that towards the purchase of an investment property. This is what the ROI could look like as an investor on that property. Let's have a conversation on whether this is something you want to explore further. Or things like, hey, you might be experiencing a high level of debt right now, given the financial circumstances and strain on the market. You have some equity in your property that we might be able to help alleviate some of that, debt cost by consolidating it into that existing equity. So really looking at ways to, again, lift that veil and provide these customers opportunities that they might not otherwise have known existed.
I think that's amazing. Awesome. And that's exciting for me here too, because I want to be part of that and providing those customers with that they might, like you said, they're not necessarily thinking about it, but it's maybe in the back of their mind, is there something I could be doing? So awesome. So what makes Pineapple different from other mortgage brokerages? I know myself personally, I have worked at other brokerages. I've been with Pineapple for about 1.5 years, which has been amazing. And but from your point of view, what makes Pineapple different?
I guess sometimes when people ask me that question, I ask myself the question of what doesn't make us different. So maybe that's an easier list.
With a name like Pineapple, it's kind of obvious we're different.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the first thing, right? Like, we decided to go with a very bold, fun name, something that was reflective of who we are as people and who we feel we are as an organization. Warm, like pineapples are a symbol of warmth, hospitality. That's who we feel we are. Pineapples are often given as a housewarming gift to people. So, we feel that really symbolizes who we are as people. But what's different about our brand? Aside from the name, is one, the level of support that this organization believes in. We believe very heavily that this business, this industry, and the career path of mortgage brokers and agents often is one that has been done alone, but it doesn't have to be. It's one that, through support, through teamwork, through collaboration, can just enhance not only the career path and the business of the mortgage brokers and agents themselves, but also the experience their clients get when working with them and when collaborating. You know, we say very often here internally that it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to build a business. And I think that's the key difference here at Pineapple, in that we have invested into the business of our mortgage brokers and agents. And we want to be part of that village that helps them raise and elevate themselves to other boundaries. You know, we believe very heavily in innovation and in change. You know, there's no such thing as a bad word here in the organization. You know, if you dream it, it can be. That's what we believe. And, you know, sometimes just sharing ideas and talking about how things can get better, talking about the problems. We don't ever look at it as obstacles and hurdles. We look at how do we get beyond it and how do we create a better place for our individuals to work and to get their mortgages. And finally, the people. I mean, you know, just the mindset and the culture, you know, the collaboration that happens not just at the company level, but also at the peer level, where we have agents helping agents, showing them how they can improve their businesses, showing them how they can provide solutions to their clients, you know, helping change mindset in terms of innovation and change, being more accepting towards those things, and really just on knowing that it's our responsibility to make a positive impact on the world. I mean, you know, now is the greatest time of the world, always. I just feel that, you know, today is always the best day and tomorrow will be the next best day. And I think that that's how Pineapple differs, because we believe that, we embrace that, and we drive that home, you know, across Canadian home buyers, homeowners, mortgage brokers, and our people.
I totally, everything you said, I'm in my head like, yep, they do that. Yep. They, we, you. It's so true. And I'm so happy to be in this Pineapple family.
We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And it is that it is a family, and you know it's so true, right? And it's hard to explain when you're not here, right?
Yeah. And I feel, you know, you as upper management through the whole staff, everybody does care and we do help each other as agents. And there's lots of opportunities to just to get together or celebrate or be part of donating, you know, being fundraisers. So it's really well-rounded.
Love it, love it. And I'm glad that you do as well.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us a bit about your passion to promote mental health and wellness, both in the community and within the brokerage.
Yeah, you know, I've been involved in philanthropy and giving back, you know, for as long as I can remember, you know, heavily involved in volunteering, you know, whether it be right in the community, you know, hosting events, doing events, you know, standing at the subway collecting donations, sitting on boards and committees, you know, whatever it might be. I love the impact that you can make into communities. And I think we have a responsibility, you know, as a society to make those contributions and to make those impacts. Mental health was something that impacted a lot of people in this business, myself included, you know, very early on in my career, where, you know, the stress and the pressure of everything that's going on in my life, but combined with and coupled with what was also happening in this new business that I'm running, you know, bared its burden on me, and the weight began to live on my shoulders. And as I began to talk about it and as I began to speak to my own journey in mental health and anxiety and stress, I began to discover that so many people in our industry suffer from a variety of mental health disorders. And I didn't want to stay silent on it anymore. I wanted to make sure that we could speak to it so that others knew that they weren't alone and they weren't struggling by themselves. And sometimes just knowing you have a network and knowing you have a group of people behind you that have also been that path is all you need to really be able to start working through it. So we started working on raising mental health awareness, you know, probably about 6 years ago, speaking to it, incorporating it into all of our training programs so that mortgage agents knew that this is something that, you know, is prevalent in our community. And, one, we can prevent against it, and we can also work around it, if we're suffering or if we see other people around us suffering. And it really just kind of took off from there, where more and more people started getting involved, more and more people started sharing their stories. And now we ensure that, regularly throughout the year, we practice, mental health awareness, whether it be through, certain fundraising events like one that we just had called Pineapple Shows Heart, where it was an art night, where we brought people to do something that's a little bit more calming, a little bit more freeing for them in painting. And, we had some yoga and meditation involved in there, doing things like speaking about mental health. We have kids' mental health awareness workshops where we take kids through how they can build, sensory boxes and how they can detect different, triggers or effects of anxiety and of mental health stress. And yeah, it's just something that we feel so committed to right now. It's obviously something near and dear to my heart. And I want to make sure I can help as many people, know that they're not struggling alone, and also help ease some of the burden of their struggles.
Yeah, I'm passionate about that as well, and have been involved in some different mental health awareness events. And what I love is that you did that well before COVID. That's been something that you recognized before that, and of course during COVID it's added its own challenges. I love that you are trailblazing, and that Pineapple is in the mental health area.
Yeah, it's important. And COVID certainly accelerated it for everybody, children, adults, whether you had a job, whether you didn't have a job, like we were all equal during COVID, I feel. And from a mental health standpoint. And I feel that so much work has to be done right now to help navigate, what'll be long-lasting impacts of that time frame.
Yeah, I agree. So what would be one last piece of advice you have for Canadians right now?
On the other side of adversity lives greatness, is something that people will often hear me say. And what that means is that, when we're faced with adversity, we have a choice when that wall goes up to, buckle down, hide, go under the blankets, turn around and never look back. Or we have a chance to find a way through, and whether that means going around that wall, whether that means digging a hole underneath that wall, climbing over that wall, or just breaking the wall down and getting to the other side. I can promise you, to everybody listening on this call, that on the other side of that wall lives greatness. And it is adversity right now. It would be remiss of me not to acknowledge that. The market is difficult, interest rates are rising. It's tough all around, mental health and just the longstanding impacts of COVID. But I can guarantee that if we can get through this as a society, as people, as, just the human race together, that on the other side of this is going to be some great things that are going to come from it. So that would be my last message.
I love that. And I'm going to write that one down to keep by my computer. Awesome. I believe it's true. And sometimes I forget. And it's a really great reminder to for everybody. And as an agent, to be able to convey that to the customers too in this difficult time. Sometimes they just need someone to say, hey, I hear you, and I know it's tough. And I'm here to help you with a plan or with your goals. But at the same time, we're all together in this.
Empathy, right? Empathy is so important right now. And knowing that, look, we're all in this together and we have to get through it together. Yeah,
absolutely. Anything else you want to add?
At the beginning of this call, in your intro, you said something about who you're going to call. And whenever I hear who you're going to call, I always think Ghostbusters. But today I'm going to say that who you're going to call Gretchen, because Gretchen, it's just been such a pleasure, working with you these past, year and a half. And, you and I have known each other in this industry for even longer than that. And I'm honored and humbled to know you, to be your colleague, to be your friend. And I just feel that you do such a great service to all of your valued clients and partners, and everyone should experience that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that greatly. And the funny thing is I have a sheet where if someone wants a referral to say, a electrician, a contractor, whatever, and it's called Who You Gonna Call? So
And then you can put a little Ghostbusters
I'm
logo
like,
on it.
I know, I don't have, I'm gonna add that. Thank you for that info. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and your great sharing of your knowledge and wisdom here today. I will say if someone wants to reach you or Pineapple directly, how would they go about that? Where
Oh,
do they go?
please. Yeah. If anybody has any questions or if there's ever anything I can do to help, I would be happy to. I can be reached easiest by email. That's Shubha, S-H-U-B for Bob, H-A at gopineapple.com.
Thank you so much. That's
Pleasure is all
wonderful.
mine.
All right. Thanks so much and have a good rest of your day.
You as well, Gretchen. Thanks, everybody.